Hey vlog, it's the first Thursday of the month, so today I'm in Liverpool for the WordPress Liverpool meetup at Lab by Capacity, which is a co-working space near Moorfield Station. I'll talk about the WordPress meetup in a future vlog, but today I'm going to cover the complete opposite. So WordPress is used to generate dynamic websites, whereas today I'm going to talk about static sites. As last Tuesday I attended the Chester Tech meetup at the Quaker House, which is where I usually go to Chester devs, and the talk was on static site generation using JVM and JBake. And just as a side note, I'm finding it really useful to do these vlogs, as it's getting me to review my notes that I make at all these meetups and helping all the information sink in. So later in the week I'll also cover other meetups in separate vlogs that I attended last week, as on the Wednesday I was across in Liverpool again for Mersey Code, and on Thursday I went to the Chester SEO meetup as well. So I'm just trying to do as many vlogs as I can at the moment to get myself more comfortable talking to the camera. So I turned up to this Chester Tech meetup a little bit early and ended up talking to Les, the organizer, and Jonathan Bullock, the presenter. And after we had covered my interests and my experience, we ended up talking about GitHub project pages, which was something that was already on my radar and something that I want to get involved in. But they suggested, as someone starting out, a good thing to do is offer to write documentation for some of the open source projects. So a lot of coders really enjoy writing the code, but they don't want to write the documentation. So offering to help them with that is a really good way to get involved in these open source projects and read around and get more familiar with code as well. And they also suggested searching GitHub for help wanted and great for first time users. So that's some advice I'm definitely gonna take on board. And then basically Les then introduced Jonathan's talk. And in introduction, Les described how his company will often meet with clients and show them vulnerabilities in WordPress sites, as a lot of these companies and organizations will build a site, or they'll get somebody else, some outside developers, to build a site for them, but they won't really consider or think about the maintenance contract for the site, or the developers will get lazy with 6-month update cycles. So then that was sort of the premise for this talk by Jonathan, that static sites and generating them using JBake is a great alternative in certain situations. So in the last vlog I didn't actually know what JVM was, so now I can tell you it's actually a Java virtual machine. So I'm familiar with virtual machines, not too familiar with Java, but then JBake is the platform used for generating the static sites. So first off in the talk he covered exactly what baking is. So baking is essentially building a static website from simple text files rather than using relational databases, which you'd use in dynamic sites. So it's a popular alternative to what he calls frying a website using databases like WordPress. So he also talked about the benefits and the advantages of baking a site rather than frying them. And some of these would be performance, so you get increased performance as it's a lot quicker to serve static files. And then there's other benefits, like I mentioned earlier, about security issues, so you get increased security as you haven't got to worry about having the latest upgrade if you're using something like WordPress. And then there was a whole array of other benefits, such as platform independence as well. But I guess it's working out the best tool for your particular project. So it depends on whether you need to change the response to each request. But if you're going to be creating a site where the content isn't changing regularly, then a static site may be for you. So a lot of the talk focused around JBake, which is something that Jonathan created. The project started back in 2013. It's an open source project that he essentially created to scratch his own itch. So he was running a WordPress site on a virtual machine and it was killing the virtual machine, even though it wasn't trying to do a lot when people visited it. So he created JBake and then published it as an open source project on Github, and it just took off from there. So now it's got multiple contributors, there's loads of people involved in the project, and the talk sort of went on to show us how to use JBake with an example. So it went through from downloading it to installing it, and then a full demo on setting up an example site. One of the most interesting bits that I took away from it was the potential to make templates. So you can make templates to reuse content. So a template is, I guess, analogous to a WordPress theme. So you can almost reskin the sites. So again, this is something I was looking at doing as a bit of a side project, and I'm putting them on GitHub, creating a few different WordPress themes. So using my HTML and CSS knowledge to reskin different sites, and then making them open source so anyone can go and use them. But then this has given me more food for thought, really. Maybe I'll make some templates instead for JBake. But yeah, what I'll do is I'll leave it there because I've got to shoot off now to the WordPress meetup here in Liverpool. But I'll do a future vlog on that, and also look out for ones on the Mersey code from last week as well, and the Chester SEO meetup review. Cool, I'll see you then.